Hello and welcome to A Celtic World, a YouTube channel and podcast that celebrates Celtic's worldwide fan base. And I just have to pull this up and say from Dundee to Dudley, Shettleston to Smithick, wherever you happen to be in this great big world, you're very much part of A Celtic World. And look at the spread we have today. We got Korea, we got Australia, we got Wales. Let's do them in that order. What up, Dano?
Hey, how's it going? Yeah, glad I had a day off with the with the time it was when I was doing the drink along last night. But good to have the time off and be able to do the mainstream show, So,
well, hello to you and hello from X-Man now.
Yeah, as usual, right on cue, man.
Star of the show.
Star of the show.
All in Perth. G'day.
G'day, mate. Yeah, it's. I'm on holiday as of now, basically. I've got Friday, Monday off. So, yeah, end of the week. So, kind of joining Dano with a little bit of leave. Head to Melbourne first thing tomorrow morning to check out.
Taking in a band,
I am taking in a band, yeah. I'm off to see the Flaming Lips play seminal album, Yoshimi Battles the Pink Robots, in its entirety, followed by a best of set afterwards. So catching up with a old mate of mine from my days in Leeds, who's been in Melbourne for many a year. So yeah, good weekend. Catch up with some family, in-laws and nephew as well. So yeah, it'll be a flying visit, but looking forward to it.
That reminds me of something I've always wanted to say to you, Paul. It's like, that's a question actually. Do you realize that you have the most beautiful face?
Thank you. That's a lyric for anyone who didn't get the reference.
Speaking of beautiful faces, let's move over to Wales and say hello to Yayan.
Yeah. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Greetings from Wales. I'm working though. No holiday time for me, sadly.
Dear oh dear. Working man.
Tragic.
Well, hello to everyone who's in
the globe turning.
I'm just going to throw some of these up if you want to keep talking there and tell us what you've been up to recently, Ian.
Well,
I saw an advanced preview of a film called Companion. You know, I like my film, so I'm going to see an advanced preview of that. I think that's all right. Nice date movie for anyone any of the viewers in the chat who are looking to go for a kind of what I call a light horror. Gav, a light horror. Not really much peril in it, but a light horror. It's a good date night one.
So a light horror. I could describe how I feel going into this very first show in my new surroundings. I'm a bit worried about what might happen.
Light horror.
Yeah. I hope I'm coming across. There's a bit of a light horror going on behind me here.
That's what I was thinking.
But that's what happens when you employ people and tell them to give you a dark and quiet room, and you get a bright and noisy one that you can hear everything that happens in the house.
Yeah.
So anyway, don't worry about that. Hello to everyone then in the chat. What are we going to be talking about today? I hear you all ask. Well, surprise, surprise. We're going to be talking about the Villa game and then the Champions League campaign overall. How we feel about it all. The playoff that is likely to await us. And then just a little bit on transfers, I suppose, at the end of that. So, well, let's have some thoughts and feelings about the Villa game specifically. Dano, when did you watched it last night and did the drink along with Kaiser, right?
Yeah. No drinking, but yeah, the along part was in full effect. You just got to wonder what would have happened maybe if we had Maeda and CCB out there. You know what I mean? I just couldn't get it out of my head the entire game. But I don't know. Overall, the campaign and the game yesterday, I feel proud of what we got done, man. I mean, it was, it's been a magic campaign. I really, really wish we had gotten at least a point, though, man. At least a point. It would have made a huge bit of difference. But I'm sure we're going to talk about
that'll take us through the entire menu.
Yeah. So yeah, it's fabulous what we've done. We've really helped ourselves and helped like Scotland's coefficient, which helps everybody. So you can't have too many regrets, man.
No regrets. They don't work. What a great game, though, Paul. It was fantastic. Awesome. Watch. I watched it this morning.
It's fabulous.
Without knowing the result, and it was just brilliant. And I was saving stills for this. And sometimes I have to go back and try and find more stills because the games are dull. This was like just action the whole time. There's so much to talk through.
Yeah, no, it's if you were a neutral, it's a brilliant game. I had a bit of everything, but yeah, it was a bit of a roller coaster as a fan, fully invested in the game. I think we were all watching behind our hands for after 5 minutes, and I think we sort of feared we might be on the end of another Dortmund, but you know the boys dug it out. And yeah, I agree with Dano. Can't have too many regrets. I think when we knew we were going there under strength, some of which is of our own making, and we'll get into that later, I'm sure. I didn't have too many expectations, I'll be honest. This game, this game was always sort of for me a bonus. I really always hoped we'd never have to go there and get anything out of the game to qualify. I think most of us thought, but pre-tournament 10 points would do it, and we sort of convinced ourselves we'd find 10 points before Villa, and that would be enough. So I'm glad we were actually on 12 and safe, and it sort of panned out how expected. But yeah, there's a few what ifs if we'd had a stronger side out, and we definitely gave them a scare, and I think we acquitted ourselves well in the circumstances, and there's quite a few players that can be proud of their performance in this game and certainly across the tournament.
Okay, well, I think that just about covers the thoughts and feelings, Ian. We won't labor it anymore. Well, why don't we get started in the game, and you can talk us through some of the early moments. Well, the early moments, my goodness, they were creating a lot of space down the right, and they did at this time. What was going on here? This is their goal, isn't it? Their first goal. That's the boy about to put the cross in, and there's the point of contact. But Ian, talk us through how this came about.
I think what we didn't know, because I mean, I've got to be honest, I don't watch a lot of Premier League football. I know Villa are obviously a decent team to be able to get into the Champions League, given the amount of money that's spent in that league and where it is. And I think this first goal is kind of symptomatic of Villa all in. They did play like they did. I mean, you have to give them credit. They play some really good football, and they put overloads in different situations really, really well, and they do take risks. And that first one, they kind of just almost caught us cold. You could kind of see, without jumping ahead to the goal where Scales is like miles up the pitch, you could see actually Rodgers had told the players to do certain things to try and combat Villa within our style. And I think we just got caught cold at the beginning because we hadn't settled into the rhythm of the game. And we did get caught a few times like that. And it's not anyone's fault. I just think we were just trying to combat what they were doing. And it was just a well-worked goal from their point of view. And it's one of those ones that, the guy's got it and then he thread it back through the eye of the needle to someone for an easy finish. And you kind of have to go, those ones kind of happen, right? Just get your head down and don't lose the next one. That was kind of what you thought. It's like not a great start, but don't lose the next one.
And then what did happen, Dano, within seconds of that first goal?
Just right back. I mean, I hadn't even looked back up to the screen, and the ball's in the net again. I think Schmeichel kind of half-assed cleared it, but it was still in our half. He was trying to make a pass, and then they just came right back to us. And this was a fabulous goal. They were both great goals. So yeah, right away, 2-0 down.
That one was a deflection, though, Dano. That one was a deflection. Like that took a deflection over.
Oh, did it deflect?
Yeah, it's one of those. It's one of those ones that it looks really good. Yeah. It's a big.
I didn't think so. I didn't. But
off Scales.
Yeah.
I looked up, and the guy was literally running to the end line and like celebrating.
He was celebrating like it was a worldie doing the Cole Palmer, and
it was a worldie. I didn't notice that. Yeah, sometimes you don't see things in games. Remember that later on in the show.
There we go.
I didn't notice that. I didn't notice that
either.
I put that down to Scales. There you go. You see, against more quality opposition, you don't sniff out the danger. The danger is more apparent, and he wasn't quick enough to close him down.
But he was quick enough to close him down. I think his closing down was just, I mean, it's so marginal. He gets a little bit more of a toe. That goes over the bar. Like, if he gets a little bit less of a toe, like, Schmeichel probably saves it. I think you just have to say he's done everything right there in terms of trying to close down the player. Going back to my earlier point, I just think it's Villa had exceptional movement. They really did exceptional movement, and they took big risks. And you have to remember, like, we don't play against teams like that do that sort of thing. So it's a big challenge for guys to switch on, and that's what makes us coming back even more credit. Because I mean, Villa were all like, just those 2 quick goals, we could have crumbled, and we didn't.
Yeah, I mean, at this stage, what were y'all thinking? Were y'all just thinking, "Oh no, this is another tanking. We're going out with a whimper"?
I said, do we have to talk about the game tomorrow? I said in the chat.
I know. Oh my God. Yeah.
Brian in the chat said he was turning it off. I think even hoovering wasn't a good enough option for him.
Standard Brian. Toys at the prime immediately. Chat the bed. It didn't look good. It didn't look good at 2-0 for sure. And yeah, you did fear the worst, and it could have got worse, actually. There was huge gap. It took us a long time to get to grips with their system, with how they were, where they were. You know, they were basically overloaded us the midfield with that. You know, that sort of, I don't know, is it 2-3-1 formation was basically 5 in there at times, and even with Taylor pushing in, making it 4, we were still massively outnumbered. They were sort of playing a box formation. And you could tell they'd been sort of briefed on it, but I don't think they really got to grips with who was picking up where. Johnson got sucked in too far in and up, often enough. There was tons of space down his side. And yeah, basically, I reckon it took us 20 minutes, 25 minutes to get to grips with that. There was still, the chance that you probably got the pictures, but the one that they carve us open, again, Johnston's out of position first up and his side gets danger. Luckily, fair play to him, he sort of follows in behind and he clears what is a relatively weak effort. I think it's sort of trying to be cute and just chip it into the gap and he gets it behind. That's the turning point in the half, to be honest.
Well, as you say, we'll get to that. But before that happened, we had a chance, did we not? A pretty good chance. Keeper off his line. Hatate, go on, son. Lift it.
Yeah, get it. He just
even if you don't lift it, hit it properly. Even if you don't lift it, smash it so that the goalkeeper has to parry it somewhere, and then we get a thing. But look, I think I think we'll talk about the various points. But Hatate had the sort of game that makes you think to yourself, "My God, if he just did a couple of those things every single week, he would be top class." There was a bit, and I think it was either the end of the first half or beginning of the second half, where he was like dropping deep to take the ball, like giving orders of where stuff had to go. He was doing stuff. I mean, we'll go on to talk about this, our first goal, but like he plays that ball really quickly, and you're just like, who's this guy? Who is this Hatate? And this is why I think he probably gets a lot more criticism than other players, is because he's got that in his locker. Like, if we could get that out of him consistently, I'm not even talking about 5 times out of 5. If we could get that 3 times out of 5, 4 times out of 5, it would be a completely different story.
Yeah.
Well, we had at least 2 moments which might have got us back into the game with a bit more composure. The second was this ball from Engels. It's a poor cross from into Adamita. Looking at that still, you think, what could possibly go wrong? Just swing it in, son. But, still images and all that. And then this is the moment you just spoke about, I think. Or did you? Hatate's pass for Taylor. This is our goal, isn't it? Yeah, Taylor gets wide on 35 minutes.
So the Johnston clearance is before that.
Yeah.
So we haven't got the stills.
Oh, I don't have that.
No. So that for me, that's the turning point of the half. Because if it goes 3-0, you're coming back from that.
No. Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't know why I don't have that. Because I was watching the game at the same time as I was taking stills, and I was enthralled in the game, and I'd be watching it, and I'd think, hold on, loads of things have just happened. and I would have to rewind it and then clip out those stills. But yeah, Dano, you're a man of tremendous athleticism. Tell us about Adam Ida's athletic movement to make contact with the ball there.
I mean, right on the spot, did exactly what he needed to do. Kept his cool, and it's man. I think for every Celtic fan, or at least the ones who are being honest, seeing Ida get a couple of goals last night was fabulous because he's come under some great pressure. Really had a cold streak to break, and this was just the time if there ever was one. And this goal was great, man. His composure was fabulous.
Really was. It was almost like you weren't quite sure how he managed to get his foot to it. Like, I want to see that again. What exactly happened?
Exactly what he needed to do, man.
Yeah, reaction time's brilliant. Look how high his foot is above his hip. That's difficult. It's a difficult execution.
Very,
keep the ball down.
Shall we all try that right now? Stand up at our computers.
At my age, my hips are one of my key problem areas, so there's no chance.
Yeah,
I think that sums up one of the best things about Ida, and it's probably where the criticism has come from over the last 10, 15 games, is he is very athletic. He is a big guy, but he is athletic, he is strong, he is powerful. And you saw a lot of that last night, much like Hatate. If we could get that Adam Ida, that would be quality, because there's not many people that can adjust their body to kind of get that. And I've seen a few people, and I think they've been very disingenuous, say that he's squaffed it in there. And I think that's very, very harsh. I agree. It's a top drawer finish, and to get your body and react that quickly. And also, let's call out another guy who's been in for a bit of criticism, Taylor, another one who had a very good night in a very difficult game where they obviously targeted him. He was making a lot of the right decisions, and that was a good ball in, a decent ball in.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, he's just throwing it into an area, right? It's obviously we get the deflection or a wonderful assist from Celtic fan McGinn. But yeah, the ball's just in a dangerous area, and that's what can happen if you do that.
Yeah. What is Matt Hedge saying here? Hatate need a two-man show for Celtic in attack contribution. The rest practically invisible.
Totally true.
Yeah, agree.
Especially
I think
Ghost.
Yeah. I think that's you were saying about Maeda missing. Daniel, you were saying about Maeda missing. I mean, I don't want to be too critical of Yang, because we've said he's probably not up to it, and it's good that we've got Jota in now. But Maeda there would have been like an extra man. We were a little bit like a man down with Yang. And Kun does this sometimes, doesn't he? He can have really good games, and he wasn't bad, but he just wasn't. He just wasn't there. He had a couple of nice through balls, but just not the impact that you want. And I think that's why we need someone like Jota, because we need to be able to spot when there's a little dip in form of the wingers and switch them in and out.
Yeah.
Back to the Ida goal and the athleticism. Paddy Lavery here saying Katie Price could get her legs like that, no problems. Nobody wants to see that anymore, do they?
I think we've all seen it.
50 years ago, maybe.
Not sure if I have. Attack contributions, though. What about this from Engels for an attack contribution, Dano?
Class.
Flick. This is the flick that led to the goal.
Yeah. Man, I love Engels. I mean, just his vision and how he plays, and this is a perfect example. I mean, just basically unlocking everything, and that leads exactly to the goal. He's come in for a lot of criticism too. I mean, everybody expects him to be, Pele or whatever, and it just takes a little bit of time for the players to bed in, and I think he's doing a marvelous job of it. That's a perfect example too.
Love the American pronunciation there of Pele.
Pele.
And I like when you drop in a Jota. That's also good.
You mean Yotto?
Yotto.
Jota. Yeah, I've heard a few. I've heard a few like American announcers pronounce it like he's Spanish or something. Yeah, I'm not making sense.
Engels loves a back heel, doesn't he? They don't all come off, but to be fair, quite a lot of them do. This is class. It's just great improvisation, and And good awareness by Johnson, actually, because he's offside and he has the presence of mind to get out of the way.
Yeah. Great goal, man.
Oh, this is a comment now from David from Bangkok CSC. That's our David, Celtic Words David. Ida took his goals well, really took his goals well. The first showed speed of thought and real agility and athleticism to adapt his body shape, which we've already discussed. The second, a skillful dink over the goalkeeper. Now then, I've already flagged this for a little bit of further probing. And it harks back to what we mentioned earlier. It's like sometimes you just don't quite see things. And I think, and I could be wrong, and I don't wish to detract at all from the goal or anything, because it was a great goal. Both his goals were great, and I'm a big Adamita fan for sure. But if you watch how the ball travels towards him, just at the last minute, it takes a little hop up off the surface, which allows his sweeping leg. It sort of gives it the wee bit of elevation. That was a surprise. It was surprisingly elevated the way it went over the keeper. And, you know, I'm not saying he wouldn't have scored if the ball hadn't have taken a little hop, but the chances of the keeper smothering it with his body, if it was just a swept effort, would have been higher.
Well, hold on, Gav. If we give him credit for his quickness of reactions to orientate his body and put the goal in for the first one, surely those same reactions would have allowed him to adjust for that bobble.
Yeah, if it has bobbled,
I'm not doing him down.
That's a trickier finish if it's bobbled right in front of you than if it's just come in as expected. So
yeah.
It makes it look like more of a dink than it really was, I think.
I don't see it as a dink. I just think he swept it in well. Like it, you know, he's
swept it in, and because of the added elevation from the bobble, it went higher than you would have thought. Great, everyone's a winner. I'm not going to die on a hill.
Either way, I think it's a goal, man.
Saying it took a wee bobble.
Trust Gav to come up with something as pedantic as that.
No, I'm not being pedantic.
It's another great finish from a man who has been out of sorts in front of goal. So,
actually, the other point I wanted to make about it, to be fair, was I'm a big Ida fan, and I think he's been doing loads of things right recently, and it just hasn't quite been falling for him. Right. So he was due a bit of a bobble from the gods to make him look like a world beater.
Ian's shaking his head, but I agree. And another thing is, we don't like Ida is at his absolute best inside the penalty box between the posts, and we haven't got supply to either striker, whether it's Kyogo or Ida, very much in that position this season. Yeah. That's why one of the reasons.
So when we have though, they've both contrived to miss a lot of them. Like Kyogo has missed as many as Ida, like, you know, in terms of minutes played. But Kyogo has scored a couple. I can't remember the games, but there's one, like there's been a couple where it would have been easier to score for Ida. Look, don't get me wrong. We've said previous times in this loads of times. I think we all want Ida to succeed, and we can see. Not only can we see he's got all the attributes, he did at the end of last season, and that's why we're saying, well, what's the difference? This, and is it confidence and stuff? Like, I'm sure everyone will be delighted if Ida can go on to make a good career at Celtic, and I think he'll be a great asset. I don't think he should be our number one striker. I think he needs to develop the physical attributes, because that's what's going to stand him out for us. Like, we need the hold-up play and stuff like that. And his hold-up play still wasn't the best last night. You know, I think that could be a real weapon for him if he gets it. If he gets it right. So I don't want to bag too much. He had a really good game. I don't think he was much worse than Kyogo has been over the last 10, 15 games. It's just that Kyogo has scored a couple of goals, and that's augmented it slightly.
Well, yeah, and he's had way more game time, and he seems to, like, for obviously because of his track record, he was allowed more leeway than Ida, and maybe because he's a foreign player as opposed to Irish.
Well, we got Jack Marcus as a comparison. That's also Ida's, like, that's also a burden for Ida. He's got the price tag, and he's got Giamakis in recent memory, who, like, only needed about 10 minutes to score a hat trick. You know.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Absolutely.
You're on mute, Gav, if you're looking to say something.
Yeah, sorry, the dogs were going mental.
Again?
I'm hopeful that he will continue to improve. And I think he will be our number one striker, actually. But we'll see.
I agree.
We'll see who comes in. We'll see who comes in. If someone comes in who's ready to hit the ground running, then maybe he won't be. But I was wondering, what do the Norwich City fans think when they see Adamita scoring 2 in the Champions League? What must they be thinking?
I don't know this.
They didn't really use him.
I'm trying not to be disparaging about Norwich, to be honest with you, because I've had a couple of interactions with their fans in X, and I think the slim pickings in the gene pool down there. I'm not sure we can link too many thoughts together.
Very controlled there.
I think the thing is, just sometimes it just doesn't work for players at a club. Like, we've all seen players that look at Jota. He went Yoto. He's had 2 clubs back to back. It hasn't worked out for him. Managers have moved on. Shortly after he's joined, he's fallen out of favour. It hasn't really worked for him. But sometimes it just clicks at a club. It all fits and players thrive. So, yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure there was no. I would well imagine Norwich thought they'd want to watch getting 9 million quid for their third choice striker, but we still think.
Yeah, and on that, the 2 more than he just scored at Norwich. Not only the 2 Champions League goals against Villa, and the kind of stat that's been peddled out like on the show and like pre-match and stuff was that people haven't scored against Villa at Villa Park. Like to get 1, great. To get 2. Excellent. So I'm not saying he's paid back his transfer fee, but it was good.
Was it Ziggy Bonyuk in 1983 in the 1983 campaign or something? Was the last away player to score against Aston Villa at Villa Park in the Champions League or Old European Cup as it was.
Old European Cup.
It's a great player for Juventus, but that's a ludicrous stat.
Wow.
And I don't know if it's a question you were going to ask, Gav, but I think it's probably one at the moment. Is I think Villa have been the best team we've played. Like, I know people will say like Dortmund, but I think Dortmund were very lucky to get the amount of goals that they did, and Atalanta didn't impress me as much. I think Aston Villa, in terms of like full strength team by Emery, almost apart from the guy who's off to Saudi, I think they're probably the best team that we've played, and that is reflected in them being one of the top 8 qualifiers.
Well, it's a nice thing to say when we have Pythor edits coming in there. As a Villa fan, good luck. You played decent. And I get you had a depleted squad. Don't be worried about Bayern. If we beat them, you could have a chance. Well, we'll talk about that a bit later.
Yeah,
Thanks for that comment.
Go get them.
Just quickly, like I say, the noise travels really badly in here until I get this room sorted fully. So if you see me just going like that, it means I'm on mute. Keep talking. And the dogs are going crazy. Okay.
I'm not sure we can hear the dogs, to be honest with you, Gav. I think the noise.
Well, I'm muting like mad. You can't see me muting all the time. So that's fascinating.
Muting or muting?
Look behind the curtain there for all the people back home.
Yeah.
How does it work?
Bit behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Behind the scenes footage.
Oh, Dorothy goes behind the curtain.
Okay, well, let's move
That's
on.
Another film, Daniel.
Let's move on to this moment, right? You see this being discussed a lot on social media. What the hell was Scales doing up there? Paul, you take this one.
Yeah, so again, still probably doing the team a disservice, but yeah, first point is I think it's way too high risk, but I think the team probably had instructions to press hard when we had opportunities, and we had them kind of just before this. I think we had them. They nearly conceded a corner. We had them kind of boxed in their box, and obviously there's been the press has come up. That is his man, like that. I think that's Rodgers he's pressing. But for me, you want to leave him in that area. And that, look, is that Adamida or maybe Kalmak that's closest to him? That's a midfielder or attacker's closing down. It's not your centre back. He's basically in the final third of Villa's end. And if he's going to be up there, when he start to get turned, foul him, take the yellow, reset,
right,
and just screw the nut. Like a little bit of professionalism. Yes, it's cynical. Yes, you'll take a booking. I don't know if he's on a booking. He might be suspended for the next game. But play the percentages. Just be professional and commit a professional foul. And Engels is probably guilty of the same. Once he gets turned, McGinn gets his big arse across him and dunts him onto the deck, and he shows his immaturity and lack of sort of, because he should be thinking, if he goes past me, we're done for. And Scales should have been thinking the same. We saw how quickly they moved the ball first half. We saw how dangerous they were. They saw how easily they were to carve us apart. Both those players are the closest players that can stop that move. And yes, it would have meant a booking, but you would absolutely take that all day long.
I just think with that one, though, I think we were just unlucky in a couple of areas. I might agree with you, take the foul, but where I would also say is Scales was kind of doing that all night. He was obviously told to stick on, I can't remember the guy's name, but he was told to stick in that player. And I think
it's Rodgers.
Yeah, I he should have been told, like, if it goes over the halfway line, leave him. I think it was just a little bit naive, just following him way too up. But I think just before then as well, before we say Scales should have fouled him, I think we had a good opportunity. I think it was a miscontrol from us. I think we could have controlled the ball a bit better, and we'd have done it. So I think there was a couple of moments in there that were just slightly off making the right decision, and I think that's ultimately what cost us there.
I think we're on the other side as well. Just before it gets to that side, we're on the other side, and there's a deflection, and we think it's going out for a corner, and it just stays in. Yeah. And I think maybe the team is sort of pounced, thinking we're going to get a corner, and then almost going, well, we better get ready for that corner. So they're just not fully switched on, and then it stays in play in the break, and we're in real trouble at that point.
Yeah, it was a little bit of bad luck to not get that corner. I mean, it just took a weird kind of fluky spin off the defender and stayed in somehow. Yeah, it was a bit of bad.
And this was the horrible moment, Dano, where the ball gets squared to the goal scorer.
It's done at this point, man. I'm surprised Casper got as close to it as he did.
Yeah, well, he's a long way away there.
This was another moment, wasn't it, where Casper sort of made a balls of playing out from the back.
Yes.
And very nearly cost us in.
Covered himself, it was just, thank God.
It was that classic sort of what is he doing? We're trying to play the pass. Calmac's body, Calmac might have been ready for it if the ball was passed anywhere near him. But it was nowhere near him. And then, fair play, made a fantastic recovery save. I mean, apart from that, Schmeichel, great all night again. I mean, it's amazing, that we've actually managed to upgrade Joe Hart. Joe Hart was class. But Schmeichel is probably, we've got him for another year. He's gonna be up there if he keeps up this form, because his highlights reel of saves is just, even in just from this game alone, is ridiculous.
Absolutely.
Well, talk about the differences then between him and Hart. What is he giving us that Hart didn't?
Hart stayed on his line a lot. When Hart made his body bigger, he was almost a bit lankier. So it seemed like there was actually more places for the ball to kind of go through him, whereas Schmeichel looks like a kind of big unit. I don't know. I just think his speed, his reactions, and his composure are just a level up again. I think
distribution it generally is much better as well.
Yeah. I mean, both short and long balls as well.
He just looks more comfortable with his feet.
Better.
It's like asking what the secret sauce is, right? It's like asking what the secret sauce is, because we don't know, but he has it. He has it all, and you just look at him and you go, "This guy's he is just class, a real class goalkeeper," and he's just earning us points as games go past, because it saves at pivotal moments. We stayed in that game as long as we did because of a good couple of saves.
Yeah. Here's a point from a new viewer, I think, Bobby Killian. Hello. Hit subscribe if you haven't already. This may have been brought up already, but Villa made just as many mistakes defensively as we did. We just didn't have the quality to capitalize on them. And, geez, how many times have we said that in recent games, that we just aren't capitalizing on our chances? It's insane.
I think as well as just the quality, I think we hadn't committed enough bodies up. So when they made a mistake, I felt like they had more time to recover it, because there wasn't 2, 3, 4 players trying to jump all over the top of the mistake, which I felt like there was every time we made a mistake. There was a swarm of Villa players ready to pounce, whereas we were obviously hedging our bets. I just don't think our press, and Rodgers alluded to it in his after-match comments, and it didn't sound like a dig of Ida. I know Ian, you sort of indicated you thought it was a bit. I just thought he sort of indicated that he's not fully kind of match fit, if you like, because he's not been playing 80, 90 minutes regularly, and his press wasn't, it's not as honed as Kyogo's is. And he's a bigger unit, so that work rate is gonna impact him more than a smaller player.
I agree with you, but I think it's complacency.
Our press as a unit, just wasn't as good as Villa's on the night. I think their press was much, much better. And that's still because we can get away with a semi-decent press in Scotland. But if we're gonna compete at this top level, we need to be better defending the press, and our own press needs to be better coordinated and joined up and more aggressive.
And look, the context is as well. Let's look at us in previous seasons in Europe. Like, we got to give credit to Rodgers because he's brought in the right players who have ultimately performed in that game. They are learning that system. They're having to go levels up to anything they face domestically. And we're sitting here going, oh, if we just made a couple of better decisions here and there, we could be looking at a completely different result and different draw. And context that against our last God knows how many seasons in Europe. It's proving that if you back Rodgers, and again, we go back to the point, after Kyogo, without CCV, without Maeda, without kind of three core players, if you like. So we have to give, big props to the board for backing Rodgers for putting together the team, sticking with it, the team especially for not crumbling after Dortmund, because that in other seasons would have just derailed us completely. There's a real mental strength about the team, and that was shown when we went 2-0 down. So, I mean, there's a lot of, I know it's a 4-2 and it doesn't look the best, but there's a lot of positives that we've grown a lot.
According to David here, kept in the game by the funniest penalty ever. Let's move on to that then. Dan, over to you. Well, first of all, the concession of the penalty. What do you think about that? It was a funny one.
I thought it was bullshit, man. Kind of a typical soft, we're in Europe kind of penalty to give. I didn't think it was a penalty, to be completely honest. But the payoff was immense with it getting called. We had a great time on the drink along with that one.
The problem is because the player's looking for it and he's already going, as soon as Trusty's moving to put his leg across him, Watkins is going over.
Yep.
And so then you've got the ability, or the referee and the VAR have got ability to say, well, he's put a leg across him and tripped him. Whereas if you look at it in full pace, as soon as he sees him coming, he's already dropping. He's already lifting his legs up and he's collapsing. So I think it's the kind of thing. You're right. European refs always give that. I think Trusty's been done here. He's been caught a little by, and he's gone for the ball, but the player has absolutely done him. And once it's given on field, I don't think it gets overturned. Right. If the ref doesn't give that on pitch, I'm pretty sure VAR isn't overturning that. But it's microseconds. Like he's got the ball, he's got his foot in the right position, but he just doesn't touch the ball quick enough. And Watkins has made contact with him and he's down. And that couple of milliseconds of player contact versus Trusty contacting the ball is pretty much done for him.
I think as well you have to question Trusty's decision making there, because don't make that sort of challenge, and that's a naivety of a player who's not played as many Champions League matches, because they give a lot softer things. It's the same thing with Maeda getting sent off. It's just like a poor decision in the moment. And I think hopefully Trusty will learn from it. Although I do think Trusty at times is a little bit like Bambi on ice. Like there was we'll go on to talk about Dane Murray's one, but Trusty was doing that as well. He was really controlling the ball with his left foot, and Watkins was about that much away a good couple of times. So hopefully Trusty will learn, and I think he needs to also know his body a little bit more. But yeah, like Paul was saying, it's not going to get overturned. You give that referee a decision to make, and I think we all kind of spotted early on that he was a clown. That was always going to happen.
Yeah.
Okay. How about the comedy moment then? Who enjoyed this?
Oh God, It's glorious, man.
Slipping from under him.
I do like the point. I think Brown Warriors just said that we should have superimposed like a rugby football, rugby ball instead. I thought it was amazing that, I mean, not only did he slip, but he put it off his other leg to flip it over and make it lollipop over the goal. Oh God, glorious!
And the reaction of the fans, all hands to head, was pretty funny. I have to say.
Surrender cobras everywhere. Yeah,
it was reminiscent of did David Beckham not have a penalty like that?
That's the first thing I thought about, man. That's the first thing I thought about. Yeah,
I think
in the Euros, just woo.
Yeah, for England, I think it might be the same as well. As he sort of lost his foot and kicked it off the other foot. But yeah, no, it was an absolute belter.
Schmeichel would have saved it because that other foot made it go the other way, and Casper was actually diving the right direction. So I think even if he hadn't slipped, I reckon Schmeichel would have saved it.
NFL.
And we'll never know, so I'll just act like I'm right.
What was that?
We'll never know.
I said we'll never know because, it's if my auntie, well, we can't really, in 2025, we're allowed to say if my auntie had balls, she'd be my uncle. Like, strike for that on YouTube.
Yeah, you can't do that. That's not the case anymore.
Back to the balls that we're more comfortable talking about. This is one breaking to. This was a great save, wasn't it? That came up. Yes, Michael made an excellent save with his leg.
Oh,
I think.
man.
Do you remember this, Dano? Do you recall this moment?
Yeah,
another scary one.
Certain this was going to end up to our detriment, but again, man, another unbelievable save. Just cat-like speed and reflexes from Casper, man. He's been just immense this season. Absolutely immense.
Yeah, they're not very fond of him in Villa, apparently. They're not big fans of Schmeichel.
Good.
I think because of his Leicester days, Leicester associations. But their keeper, the classy Argentinian, who did that thing with the award. Remember when he won that
Jules
award?
Rimet, turning it into his cock. Yeah.
Golden
That's
Globe.
Saudi Arabians.
The World Cup winners, isn't it? Like, that's a World Cup winning goalkeeper. Like, you actually, I've not looked at the math, but I'm sure if you look through that Aston Villa squad, I'm telling you, they've spent a good few pennies more than us on that squad.
God, of course.
Oh, yeah, man.
I think there was a comment by Hesh earlier that said something like they spend like 92% of their income on wages, which is obviously unsustainable. But I'm pretty sure that's a comment from earlier. So yeah, there's the discrepancy in wages will be enormous.
71 minutes, a Tate shot from distance. Just flashed wide. Not a bad effort, but just another moment in the game.
Oh, I was convinced that was going in, man.
Yeah.
It wasn't far away.
It was.
Kuhn's ball to Ida on 74 minutes. That was also beautiful.
Yeah.
Have
you got the one in here with Yang as well?
Well, this is the one where Ida ran through and then went for the shot, which
should square it.
Should he square it? That's what I wanted to talk about.
Do you know what?
I think he meant to. Yeah.
If he squares it, is Yang getting to it? Is the question. And if it's Maeda, Maeda's getting to it. But you actually look at how Yang is deceptively slow. I think you saw that when McGinn got back to him when he was like he'd been put through by Kuhn, and there I don't think he's getting to that to kind of tap it in, even if
I don't think he is.
Ida put it across.
Yeah,
that's why I think Ida went for it. He thought, I'll do the unexpected. If you're playing it on FIFA, you definitely try and square the ball. But that's why I think he went for the unexpected, because he's such an iconic front man, talisman for us, Adamida, that he dared to do the unexpected in.
It'd be Russian roulette, not Russian roulette. It would be just a gamble if Maeda was there, though, because it would either end up in the back of the net or Rose Ed. You wouldn't know. It'd be like gambling. So, but I think he probably, given the benefit of the doubt there, I think maybe has tried to wrap his leg around it and just hasn't quite managed it. But yeah, again, this is what we're talking about, that we did have chances. This
was another Villa chance then. This is Liam Scales getting caught out as he tends to, Paul. You can see the player behind him, the attacking player, is moving at twice his speed and he's
Well,
watching
he's got
the
ball.
ball, and by
He's got
the
ball
time the
watching
ball
again.
gets to him,
which is-
yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, this is I've got a lot of time for Scales. We've talked about it a lot. He's played above his level for a long time, and people would say, well, that's his level. But this isn't his level. Like he consistently gets caught out at this kind of level. And the ball in behind and the ball over the top are the two that he's susceptible to. And yeah, he's caught ball watching and he gets completely lost by Rodgers and he's away. And yeah, again, Schmeichel does a great job.
Schmeichel, man.
He probably should have scored there.
As Ian was suggesting, Dano Schmeichel does a good job of making himself big, I think, because he starts off quite big, especially around the midriff.
He's nearly 40. Give him a break.
I mean, but he's big as a bear, but he's quick too, man. He's got his technique, man. He has amazing technique and timing, and his quickness are fabulous, man.
Yeah, like
absolutely amazing.
You'd be forgiven for thinking you're seeing his dad some of the times when he sort of does that sort of big star jump block and makes himself huge, and more often than not he gets enough on it to keep it out. And yeah, I assume he was learning that technique from a toddler, so he's got it down pat at nearly 40.
What a player!
I mean, when we were young, that was the thing, wasn't it? Keepers were all big fellas. It's quite a recent thing that they've all become supreme athletes. I mean, because remember, we'd go into games like, oh, and then there was your shit, or you fat bastard was a regular chant, because they were all chunky boys, goalkeepers. That used to be considered a bit of an asset for a keeper, I think, in some way.
Was our last big keeper, chunky keeper, Rob Douglas? Or would we class Boric as a bit of a chunky guy as well? Because Boric liked to drink.
Boric had a little drunk in his trunk, man. He was a party boy, man. You could tell he was.
Yeah, but Boric had his moments for sure, especially towards the end of his time.
But Boric was amazing too, man. Keep the party boys coming, man. Just keep rolling in. You want to go to Burger King post game? Yeah, go ahead. It's cool, man.
Okay, so from one Great Dane to another, this moment, which will probably give sleepless nights to a certain young man in,
He shouldn't have sleepless nights. Look, it's a big level for him, and like I said, what he's been caught out is, I think it looks like he's left-footed, the same as Trusty, and I swear Trusty nearly got caught out with this thing three times. It was just he didn't have his body orientated correctly, and he had the ball snatched off of him. And these things happen. I think we're really chasing the game at that point. So instead of him just pure defending there, he's looking at like space all over the pitch to have time to take it, to try and do the pass to get us in the counter attack. I know it looks bad, but in the context of where we are in the game and what we're doing, it's just one of those mistakes that happens when you're trying to force the issue. And is that he's. I'm not sure if that's his debut. I mean, I know he's played like pre-season games. I'm not sure if he's actually played anything for the first team or anything significant.
Never seen him before. Two players came on. I was like, who are these guys?
Oh, yeah.
I had to wait for them to clarify.
Well, Dane Murray was definitely in and around the squad before the injuries. I'm not sure if he had any minutes, but he was a very highly regarded young player. And there was high hopes for him to progress, and then he had a horrible injury. Well, he had a couple of injuries, but one of them, I think, he had an ACL, which set him back. But yeah, obviously he's obviously been brought back now that Welsh is gone. He's clearly above Naroshki in the pecking order.
He's a unit as well.
Yeah, but he's been thrown in. I agree with you, Ian. There's no reason for him to have sleepless nights. He shouldn't be getting pelters for this. No. He's a young player. He's made a mistake. There's plenty of older, experienced players made equally bad or worse mistakes across the season and will again. So, yeah, it was born out of necessity, but I was delighted to see two young players get Champions League debuts. And ultimately, and I think I said this in the group chat, we should have had a tilt a bit earlier, because if we got beat 4 or 5-2 versus getting beat 3-2, what's the difference? Do you know what I mean? At least have a tilt, and then you might grab something and get out of there with a point.
Yeah.
Well, this was it, the final nail in the coffin, Dano.
Yeah.
Bit of a sour end to the game.
It breaks your heart, but I agree with both of the previous speakers. Keep giving the players some chances, and it's nothing to cry over tomorrow morning. I mean, it is what it is, and it's unfortunate for the young man, but hopefully we can, as a fan base, get past it and give him some encouragement, because he looks like a player, So, oh well, no need to cry over your cereal the next morning, man.
Should we cry over the stats? Did we deserve anything more out of the game?
It's questionable.
Yeah, it's decision making. Again, look, let's see where we are in another 12 months, because we've come on so far in the 12 months, and we can all see the positives there. There's the statistics there. You could pull up the statistics from the Dortmund game and it wouldn't be reflective of it. I think it's just a case of a couple of better decisions makes that XG look completely different. And we'll probably go on to talk about it, like a couple of additions to the squad, like maybe helping out someone like Kalmak, like another defensive midfielder in there when we're near the end of the game or something, and it's 2-2. KT back there, an extra weapon at left back, Jota on there instead of Yang, CCV, and we could be talking about different stuff. So I think Villa on the balance probably deserved to win, and I think we have to be big enough to say they looked like a class outfit. They really did. They looked well drilled. I'd never even heard of the Gordon boy. He's got a couple of caps for England apparently, so obviously he's been doing decent. But he looked class. He had such good movement and stuff and strength. And yeah, a lot of them I hadn't heard of, but they were decent.
JJ McGarvey keeping the musical theme going there.
Lincoln Park.
Geez, it's 52 minutes and we've only just got through the game. Let's run through a few pictures from around the game, shall we?
I did think you were thinking somewhat, but there we go.
Dano, who's that?
Ozzy, man. Ozzy Osbourne, man.
Sharon Osbourne's husband.
Sharon's man.
Music
alive, right?
Of course. Against all odds.
Okay.
I think he might have put out an album like last year, the year before, man. Unbelievable.
Here's some of the unity that was shown. There wasn't all that much unity. There was a bit of drama, wasn't there, in the stands? A few people getting slapped around the chops. It's not what we like to see.
Pretty Hunnish soundtrack going on amongst the supporters.
Plebs will be plebs.
Yeah.
Stilian Petrov saying nothing warms his heart more than seeing his sons passionately supporting their teams. That's nice, isn't it?
Yeah.
That would warm your heart. Sons of Erin, Birmingham, CSC, outside the Witten Arms. This was someone trying to say, look, let's not hit Villa too much. There's loads of Irish connections with that club. Those people showing.
I don't think we do, though, Gavin. This is the typical social media thing, is like you just get a couple of bam pots and then it rolls and rolls, because like our bam pots argue with their bam pots, and then it becomes this massive thing. Majority of Villa fans, decent guys, I'd imagine. I think it's just unfortunate we've seen over the years with Brexit and all that sort of stuff, there's just a little contingent growing that feel empowered by the way that things are going, and I think it tends to attach itself to football. It's an old story.
Well, this is the Walking Tim, friend of the show, saying in response to the thumbnail that I put up, we're celebrating Celtic's top 24 finish as we should. He said, add a treble to a top 24 finish, and that's an unbelievable season for the boys. 26.3 million quid banked already, plus another 843k from the playoff, including ticket sales. It's been fantastic overall, Dano. We've made it. We've done what we set out to do. What a season we're having.
Absolutely, man. It's been fabulous. I mean, we won the League Cup already. I mean, we're aiming for a treble. We're still in Europe. I mean, this is banner days, man. It's fabulous. Anybody who's not entertained, I don't know what to tell you. It's been amazing to watch.
Yeah, I think expectations can change over time, can't they? They're shifting sands. But I remember at the very start of the league, or maybe the Champions League, whenever the draw was made, and we all said, it's a favourable enough draw, there's some points to be had there. But I remember asking Steve, would you take 24th? And he was like, of course. Absolutely. I bite your hand off. Because the possibility of us making a royal balls up of it was always there and always
yeah.
strong. And we
Oh, yeah.
haven't. So that is awesome. Right, Paul?
Absolutely, man.
Yeah, we've absolutely seen progress. You know, you can always look at it both ways. We got ourselves in a really good position. And on other, you know, with a bit of extra luck and a bit of sharper performances, you know, there's performances there against. I think we should have won the Bruges game. Obviously, the only goal in that the goal that they got was an absolute horror show with CCV and making an absolute pig's ear of it. Yes, they're a very good side. I don't think they outplayed us particularly on the night. So there's a little bit of regret there. There's regret with the Zagreb trip. We didn't really have a crack at them, and we're a bit fearful and happy to take a draw. But all that said, you know, those are games in years gone by, as Ian sort of alluded to earlier on. We'd have made a mess of those. We'd have probably got beaten as opposed to draws. So one step at a time. We've seen massive progress this year. I think the draw's definitely been favourable to us. The new format has 100% benefited teams like us.
Yes.
And I saw a comment earlier on saying it will never be as easy again. You're probably right. I don't think we get such a favourable draw in the future. I remember, and I shared this in the group chat, and it didn't really garner much interest, but when the draw came out, we looked at it and we looked at teams that had what we thought were horror draws. Lille had what I thought was a shocker of a draw. They had some massive teams and big clubs with huge reputations, and then they've gone and finished 7th on the back of that draw. So, but they're a team that has been building. Teams like Bruges have spent a lot of times in the Champions League. You know, the points earlier, this group of players is learning rapidly. And if we keep that going and we can keep the nucleus of this side together and obviously add to it both this window and next, I'm hopeful and optimistic. Never mind, a little bit confident that we can go on and repeat this next year and maybe even push on again.
And it's over a longer period of time as well. I think that's the other thing that's benefiting us, because teams can there's plenty of time for form to change. And it's over a longer period of time, so they can't manage it the same. And it's a bit of a leveler. Well, hopefully it's a bit of a leveler. You've seen that with Man City. Like, they've only just scraped through because they've not been able to have that, the guaranteed 6 points they'd have from a bottom seed team.
Yeah. Yeah, the format definitely benefits us immensely. And I think it makes for a more interesting group stage just generally. You see these awesome matchups and shock results of the big teams going down, especially City. They just barely scraped by the skin of their teeth.
Wait, absolutely.
I think it's made for much more drama, and it's just way more interesting than the old group stage. You know, the usual suspects would be completely in control by late October. So
well, yeah. Look how many live games there were. Of the 18 fixtures, there must have been most of them probably had one of the teams had something really to play for and go for.
Yeah.
There were only a handful of teams that were already out. There were only a handful of teams that were definitely or a few teams in definitely the top 8. And then there was some jeopardy for the teams. Everybody below us was in jeopardy. We were the last team safe in the playoff, and a very outside chance of top 8. So for all of that to be live on the last match day, anyone that's criticizing the new format is absolutely insane, because
they're at it.
Yeah,
they are at it. Are you not entertained, indeed, as Who's the Snitch references here with Maximus Decimus Meridius? And here's something from my friend Monty. Anybody else find this visible?
No idea what's happening here.
Do you have no idea? Oh, that's
Monty Python, isn't it?
It's Monty Python, yeah.
Okay.
Come on,
goes on to follow it up there. So I see people saying, okay, what about this guy? Bring him in next. I consulted a Danish friend of mine just to find out how we can say his name, because I know our viewers and definitely our contributors are very keen to get pronunciation right at all times.
Can I try it before you tell me?
Go on.
Beach Garden.
Well, give me the whole thing.
I don't know his first name.
Matthias
or Matthias?
This is what it is.
Matthias
Kvistgården. Mathias Kvistgården. Mathias
sport?
Kvistgaard. Mathias Kvistgaard.
In the words of Charlie Mulgrew, he's made that up.
I wasn't expecting the D to be silent. That's
Yeah, they dropped that.
surprising.
It's like
That's never.
a
At least
yes
we
and
know
a
it's Matthias. That's,
Kvistgaard. It's like
we're going to
Big
call him
Matty.
Matthias Kvistgarden, aren't we? So
yeah.
K-Dog. That's it, isn't it?
Okay.
Big-
Big Matty.
Big Matty K.
there are 3, 2, 1 people live watching us. So hello to everyone who is. If you haven't already, oh, here's a message for you. Let's do it in to Mark Kasper Schmeichel's great game. We'll do it in this accent.
Here in Denmark, we totally love Glasgow Celtic. Casper is the latest Great Dane to grace the green and white dynamite. Everyone should click that subscribe button. It's easy and costs nothing. Mon the hoops.
On the hoops, indeed.
Oof.
Yeah, it's only our second season. You know, I talk about all the reasons why people should subscribe. You know, we're not owned by anyone. We're not answerable to Celtic for getting access to the club. It's completely independent media. We don't charge for any content. We don't even show adverts on YouTube. Now, I pay for YouTube Premium. I don't know about you guys, but I hate YouTube adverts so much that I got YouTube Premium.
Amen.
Thinking this was a huge expense, and I consulted Dano about it, and he's like, of course, what the hell? It doesn't everyone. But YouTube ads are incredibly annoying, and we don't show them. So if you appreciate that fact, then that alone, I think, would encourage you to tickle the subscribe button. Don't you think so, Paul?
Just a tickle. No more. No less. Just a tickle. Ding, ding, ding.
Just a tickle. There you go. All right. What are we
Just
on to
a
after this then? Do we want to talk about transfers? I mean, what's going to happen? The window's almost closed. What's going to happen in the next few days?
There'll be some movement, won't there? It's whether we get KT. There's a rumour about having the boy from Manchester United on loan. If we don't do that, I would expect us to do that. I think we definitely need a striker. I mean, let's see. It's either going to be Big Matty K from Denmark, or it's going to be someone on loan. You know, till we wait to the summer and then buy him, because I think he's the one. There's been too much written about him, so I think those are the ones. But I it's going to go down to the wire, right? What have we got? We've got just
February
another
3rd,
day and a half.
Nah, Monday night.
Oh, is it Monday night? Is it? Okay.
Yeah,
Monday night. Yeah, it goes to Monday night. So 11 p.m. UK time Monday. Same window for England as well. So yeah, both open at the same time.
And we've got a glamour tie against either Bayern or Real Madrid to pitch to people. So
Okay. And is there a massive difference there? Is it like Real Madrid, absolutely no hope, Bayern?
On your most optimistic day, you could pitch that, but I like to think I'm reasonably upbeat, but I'd be very surprised if we can get
I would say Real Madrid are like a 1% or like a 1% chance of beating them. I would say Bayern are 10 to 15%. The Villa guy that was on earlier was right. I think Bayern could be got at, and they don't have that burning pace and skill. They've got attributes we could deal with better with our defense. I think our defense against skill and pace, I think are just all at sea. I'm not sitting here saying if we get Bayern, we're going to beat them. I just think we've got a markedly better chance. And like someone like Trusty is going to be better going up against someone physical like Kane, and CCV is going to be better up against that than like the trickery of Vinicius or Mbappe.
Yeah, 100%. But I think the thing is, because it's a two, like the Aston Villa fan also pointed out, if they can beat them, we can give them a game or beat them. The issue we've got is it's two-legged ties, and over two legs you'd expect the greater quality and the weight of the squad depth and the cash to ultimately play out. But I'm not one of these people that is sort of disappointed by the draw. We want it to be in the mix. And I'm also not one of these people that goes, I'd have preferred to drop Sporting or Brest or whoever. Like, there's no mugs at this level now. There was no mugs, a few mugs in the 36, but on any given, on any given day you slip up. Look, like look at Zagreb, 11 points, not mugs, can probably feel really hard done by. But AC Milan probably went there thinking they win that game, they're top 8, and they got beaten on the night. They got turned over. So there's always a chance that even the teams that finished in the bottom 8 could do you damage. But yeah, we're just delighted to be in the mix and let's test ourselves. But I'll be honest, I agree with Ian. You probably want to avoid Real Madrid. Save them for the final.
I think we need to. I mean, if we get Real, I think we need to study a lot of film from their domestic form and how the domestic teams in Spain have been giving them problems, because they have had a lot of them. But yeah, they're both tough house.
Real Madrid
but let's have it.
Like Ron Jeremy, that's a footballer I'm not familiar with. Must be from before my time. So thanks for that, Red Scotland.
My friend sent me a text and he said he's of the other side of the city, and he said Bayern and Real, it's like choosing 12 inches or 13 inches. You can read into the rest of what he said.
Going back to my little Kermit photo from Kaiser.
Ron, speaking of, we touched on rotund footballers earlier on. Ron Jeremy would definitely fall into that category. He was carrying a bit of extra timber, wasn't he?
Quite literally.
Round the middle.
Yeah. Tossing the caber comes to mind. All right. Anyway, we're beginning to descend into smut. That's never good. We prefer to start off smutty on this show. All right, lads, well done. That was very entertaining. Thank you, as always, to everyone in the comments for all your incisive chit-chat and humour. It's getting a bit saucy now that Ron Jeremy got a mention, so we better not flash up anymore. Enough to say thanks, as always, for participating. You're as much of the show as the people on the screen, but thanks also to the people on the screen. Thanks to Dano, Paul, and Ian. And well, what's going to happen now before the next show? What's the next fixture? When's that? I don't even know.
Motherwell Sunday,
I think.
Yeah. We're on the drink along for that, baby.
Jota on the wing.
Come on, get it.
All right, lads. Well, in that case, the next show is going to be looking back at that game. So that's excellent. But in a way, we've sort of been building up so much to this game. It feels like, it's like, your exams out of the way.
Yeah.
It's just the start of the next semester. You don't have to worry about, studying or anything, going to classes. And it's been a long time since any of us did any of that. All right, lads, thanks as always. See you on the next one. Until then, hail, hail.
Cheers.